So thank you for that question. But the simple thing to tell any borrower seeking credit from lenders is that lenders today look at your credit history. And that credit history is a summary of all your borrowing from various lenders who share data with the Credit Reference Bureau. Data that is shared with the Credit Reference Bureau is usually a record of the loans that you have taken and how you are repaying those loans. Over time, this can be summarized and condensed in a number. And that number is what we call a credit score. So the components of that number will include the amount of borrowing that you have, how you repay each of the loans that you have, the age of the credit itself, how long is the credit been outstanding, and any other credits that you are looking for in the market. That is the component of the credit history, and that is what gets summarized into a credit score. So to understand a credit score is simply to look at the credit history that you have on your credit profile. And in terms of decision making, it is easier to use a credit score than to use a credit report from a lender's point of view, because you find for those customers who have multiple borrowing from various institutions, you may have 5 accounts, 10 accounts, and you've been borrowing for the last 3 years, 5 years. So your credit report could be something like 20, 30 pages. And there's no way a lender is going to peruse through each page of that report to understand your full credit history. And even if they did, by the time they are on page 10, they will have forgotten what they saw on page 1. So the quicker way that the system gets out of this lengthy perusal of credit reports is to summarize all of that information into a credit score. So a credit score will then be easier to interpret, because then a credit score is put on a scale, usually a scale of 200 to 900. So that scale then is an indicator of the credit performance of your loans on the credit report. So if you have items, if you have loans that you're paying well, most of your scores will lie between 700 and 900. If you are struggling, probably scores will be between 500 and 600. If you have some default items, your scores will probably be below 400. So with that scale, then it becomes a lot easier for lenders to interpret your credit history and make quicker decisions. So it's sort of like what you call a risk basket. Customers' credit scores then begin to fall into a risk basket, and each risk basket then attracts a certain level of interest rate. And that's important, because then if you went to a lender and the lender, you want to negotiate with the lender on better terms, which include the interest rate that you pay and the other terms in the credit that you're seeking, it is easier to use the credit score than go through a credit report with the lender. And lenders do understand the meaning of these scores.